Hello, class. I want to remind you that ancient Greece is a mountainous region and it's made up over 2,000 islands. Even though it has over 2,000 islands, it's fairly a small place. Now, the two first civilizations with a huge influence on life on the Aegean Sea, which is in ancient Greece, were the Minoans and Mycenaeans. The Minoans were an advanced society on the island of Crete. Because they were located on the sea, they became expert sailors and shipbuilders. The ships carried olive oil from Greece and they would trade it for silver, copper, and jewels. The Minoans disappeared and it's not certain what happened to them, but it's hypothesized that a volcano wiped out the civilization. The Mycenaeans lived on the mainland in Greece. They built a lot of fortresses. They took over from the Minoans and set up colonies not only in Greece, but as far away as Italy. The Mycenaeans were very powerful people. They were really big into trading, though it's not like you probably think. It was not very peaceful all the time. The Mycenaeans did a lot of conquering in order to establish themselves as powerful traders. Let's talk about how the colonies were set up. At the center of each colony was a city-state. Now, early Greece was a very dangerous place. There were many invasions and there were several different armies trying to take over that area. Initially, they did not develop with a unified government, but eventually people band together because they needed protection from the people trying to invade their territory. This is how city-states were formed. As a reminder, a city-state is an independent area. It's made up, of that area and all the surrounding areas, and they have their own established government and their own rules. You can kind of think of it as a mini country. Greek city-states are referred to as a polis. Well, how were they similar? Well, at the center of all city-states was an acropolis, which means a top city. An acropolis was typically built on top of a military fort on a hill, and it was a big building where you had temples and other public buildings to find. The agora was called the marketplace. It was also found in a city. The agora is considered a gathering area where the people went to fellowship and socialize with each other. We are going to focus on two important city-states, Athens and Sparta. Athens did not tell Sparta what to do, and Sparta did not tell Athens what to do. They did not make decisions for each other. If I told you that they got along with each other, I would be lying to you. Let's start with Athens. Athens is located in eastern Greece, and they were granted a lot of rights because of their city-state. They became the capital and focused on developing the mind. The whole concept of a direct democracy was found in Athens. That's where it all started. Pericles is the man who introduced a direct democracy to Greece, and democracy, of course, is a form of government where the citizens rule directly. They got together, they had a debate, they made a decision, and that's how the city was ruled. They did not pick representatives to make decisions for them. Most all adult males who were in Athens had an equal voice. Now, the golden age of Greece, which was something that was also introduced by a man named Pericles, was the time whenever people really focused on developing their mind through literature and arts and education and architecture. This is when people became very smart and focused on education. Pericles is the one who was responsible for leading the people through the golden age of Greece. During that time, he also built a very famous building that's still partially standing today called the Parthenon. It was built during the golden age of Greece. Pericles was a very, very wise man. He was well liked by all the people. He was very honest. He was fair. He was a skillful politician and an inspiring speaker. He led Athens during this golden age of Greece that we just discussed. He had two goals. The first goal was to strengthen democracy, and the second goal was to hold and strengthen the empire or to make it very, very strong. He ruled until he died for 32 years. The people were really infatuated with Pericles. Also, during this time of golden age in Greece, we're going to talk about three philosophers: Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato. Philosophers means they love knowledge, so they encourage people during this time to ask a lot of questions and to really challenge their mind. We kind of go from thinking about make-believe and we turning things around to science. I guess that's the way I could describe that. Let's talk about Sparta. Sparta was the arch rival of Athens. Sparta focused on and had an outstanding military. Okay, their goal was to defeat the enemy. Because they focused on the military and didn't really focus so much on education, they were less advanced than other city-states, and they were a much poorer group of people. Okay, Sparta was ruled by a small group of old, wealthy men who made decisions for everyone who lived in Sparta. This is completely different than the government in Athens, where they had a direct democracy. So why did they just not get along with each other? Well, who knows? The only thing I can tell you that as a result of the tensions that continued to increase between Athens and Sparta, this led to the Peloponnesian War. Now, this war happened in 431 BC. Athens became a much richer and powerful city-state, and actually they were more powerful than all the other city-states. Sparta became jealous of this, so led by Sparta, the other city-states rebelled against the growing strength of Athens, and they went to war. As a result, Sparta won. All of Greece, however, became a weaker and much poorer place. And this is when Athens lost their power, and this is also what ended the Golden Age in Greece. Well, who was kind of behind this? Well, a young man who was 20 years old, named Alexander the Great, became the king of Macedonia. After the Peloponnesian War weakened the Greek city-states, he conquered these Greek city-states, and he established a unified nation. And this is what I want you to remember. We no longer have a city-state running the show. We now have a unified nation. Alexander the Great was able to spread his empire from Greece to India, and he conquered nearly all of Asia and Europe. He had his troops fighting so hard they became physically exhausted, and they just refused to fight after a while. So the size of the empire led to him expanding Greek-like culture. Now let me say that again. Because he conquered all these territories which were way beyond Greece, he began to spread Greek language and culture to these different places. That's called Hellenism. And throughout his empire, he spread and blended the Greek culture with the Egyptian, Persian, and Indian influences after he took over. Alexander the Great, young man, 20 years old, he became ill and he died at the age of 33 years old, but his influence still remained amongst the city-states. Let's talk about the legacies and achievements we have to this very day as a result of ancient Greece and the accomplishments during that time period. Number one, the United States, we live in a democracy. That's because ancient Greece had the first democratic constitution, and we sort of followed that guideline. We also still have the concept in the United States of trial by jury, which means that 12 people on a jury, they decide if a person is innocent or guilty of a crime. We have the Olympics because, of course, the first Olympic Games were held in Greece in honor of the god Zeus. We also have the concept of plays. Tragedies and comedies were first developed in Greece. We also can thank the Greeks for the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which you'll learn much later. That's geometry. That started in Greece. And with science, we have the Hippocratic Oath, which all the doctors recite, and we also have the classification of plants and animals. Greek art has influenced many of the world's greatest artists, and the Greek architecture, the columns that were styled in Greece thousands of years ago are still used in many buildings today.